the San Francisco 49ers continue to roll. Them and the Cincinnati Bengals are the hottest teams in the NFL. And the way San Francisco looked on Saturday Seattle stayed in that game. It was a competitive game until Geno Smith got stripped, and that was it. And then the Niners just went off and steamrolled Seattle after that. And so now we're going to get a matchup of the Niners hosting either the Cowboys or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next week. But San Francisco looks good. Brock Purdy looks fantastic. There's been a lot of comparisons to Tom Brady early in his career. Look at the numbers. Brock Purdy's been better than Tom Brady early at this point of his career early on. I'm just saying.
Here we go.
But we do have a little bit of an update on their situation in San Francisco because Jay Glazer reported that even when Jimmy Garoppolo comes back.
Oh, he's not coming.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes, not coming.
You talk about a guy who can't catch a break. Jimmy Garoppolo cannot catch a break. Gets his opportunity, comes back, is playing maybe the best football of his career, gets injured, and the final pick of the draft steps in and is playing lights out and just took his job from him. So it's Brock Purdy the rest of the way.
I was sitting with one of the players at my crib yesterday, not flexing or anything, but yeah, he's just listening to the way they talk about him. He's not coming out.
They're big fans, huh?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're believers in him.
Now, I wonder what's the plan moving forward because you do have Trey Lance. You've got Garoppolo. The feeling is Garoppolo is going to be elsewhere. And there's been some speculation. So Trey Lance.
It's interesting, right?
Yeah.
Like a last pick of the draft. And this one is even more compelling than a lot of people forget about when RG3 got drafted. They took Kirk Cousins they took him in the same draft.
Which I remember in real time thinking, that's interesting.
That's interesting. Somebody wanted one. Somebody else wanted the other. And we saw who ended up playing in the end and who's still playing in the end. But anyway, I find it to be very, very interesting that you find it's just how some of these guys find their way to being relevant players. Now here's what's interesting. You're comparing him to Tom Brady. Tom Brady was a late-round draft pick as well.
A lot of comparisons.
Just say he goes on to be one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game. How the hell does that happen, man? It's still one of the biggest mind-boggling things to me. I was the best football player in high school, rated. I was the best football player coming out of college.
Same.
Rated.
I hear you.
And I had a just above average pro career.
You went to three Pro Bowls. Stop.
It was just above average.
Stop. Come on.
But here's what I'm saying, right? How does that work where somebody who's not an All-American in college, maybe doesn't even play for a big college, finds a way to get in? Like somebody like James Harrison, right? Gets into the league, keeps getting cut, goes overseas, come back, get cut, special teamer. He's a Hall of Famer. He'll be a Hall of Famer. It's just it mind boggles me how it happens. Like people are sitting there like, okay, will the milk run bad? Will it go bad for Brock Purdy in the playoffs? Because the intensity level is going to increase. The amount of preparation towards them is going to increase and be more specific. He's not sneaking up on anybody now. What will he be able to do? The dude delivered. What, 4 touchdowns he threw on the day?
Yep. And he was throwing the ball downfield. It's not like, yes, guys were open underneath, and Deebo Samuel made a great play, and all of that is true. And McCaffrey was fantastic, but he was throwing the ball downfield.
I don't know that anybody can beat this team. I don't know. Outside of a team, maybe outside of Kansas City, I don't know that there's another team out there that can beat the San Francisco 49ers team today.
They're the most well-rounded team in the NFL. They've got the best defense. They're loaded on offense. The only question for them
Did you see the way Eric Armstead was ripping through that line?
Yeah.
Did you see the way Bosa was ripping through that line, man?
Bosa's a stud, man.
Bro,
I mean,
Eric Armstead is a stud. Them boys are studs. And they just swarm at every level. It's a swarming defense.
the deepest team in the league. Like they're a problem. And I don't see anybody in the NFC.
Nah, I don't see anybody in the NFC. Maybe Philly, but I almost got this weird feeling that New York is going to take out the one team that could beat San Francisco.
The report over the weekend was this Jalen Hurts injury that, he finished the game in the game he suffered it in against the Bears when he was driven down to the turf. But people forget, like, the weather and the temperatures in Chicago. You were just in Chicago. You know how cold that place is.
My hand cracked.
Yeah, like
it was so cold. The air was so cold. My burn on my hand cracked within 2-3 minutes of being outside.
So Jalen Hurts in that weather suffered the injury, finished that game, and now, I mean, that was, weeks ago. Yep. Now there's the discussion that's being had that he's just going to have to learn to play with pain, that it's not going to heal up at any point during the postseason, and Jalen Hurts is just going to have to deal with it. So you're getting Jalen Hurts, who's going to be less than 100%. The Giants are rolling.
They didn't look good in that last game.
No.
They did not look good in Jalen Hurts' return, but they have a ultra-talented team.
Yeah, I agree. And I thought Philadelphia was going to be – when we were doing the show earlier in the season, and Brady and I were at the horse track for the Breeders' Cup, and I remember that was the Thursday night game that week was the Texans and the Eagles. And I remember we talked the next day and we said – and Philadelphia is the best team in the NFC. I mean, yes, they had the best record, but after what you saw, for them to go on the road on a short week, they can run the ball. Their only flaw was, can they stop the run? And they went out and they tried to address it, and they did improve the second half of the season in that category. But at that point, I was like, there's nobody in the NFC I look at and go, yeah, that team's the potential threat to the Philadelphia Eagles. If I were reseeding the NFC right now, I would put San Francisco 1 with a significant gap between them and anybody else. Like I don't think Philly stands a chance against the Niners right now. I think San Francisco's healthier, and all of this with, yes, Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick of the draft as their quarterback.
I know if I am anyone out there and I saw this 49ers team, I'm concerned. If I'm on the NFC side, I'm certainly concerned.
And
if I'm on the AFC side, I know I got to get through the AFC, and there's some dangerous teams that you're going to have to see in the AFC. But, man, I'm looking at San Fran, and I'm concerned.
Here's the other scenario you bring up. So the one the one aspect you look at it and you go, Philadelphia's got the advantage, is because if they meet in the NFC title game, it's obviously going to be in Philadelphia. Well, if it plays out the way you think it's going to play out and the Giants upset Philly, San Francisco, if they get to the NFC title game, is going to be hosting that game. So now all of a sudden they become the de facto number 1 seed if that scenario plays out and Philadelphia trips up against New York.
And
so
that's very possible.
I look at the way all these teams are shaping up in the NFC. I think the Niners are by far and away the best team, and Philadelphia has struggled, and they're just not the same team that we saw earlier in the season.